Number six, my most spiritual experience definitely would have to be the MTC. You feel the spirit constantly there, and you don't understand that until you leave the MTC. You go to the MTC, there's 3,000 fit missionaries. That's 1,500 companionships. You do an average of 15 prayers a day. The third question, when did you know you wanted to go on a mission? For me, I didn't know I wanted to go on a mission until about June 2017 when I was visiting my brother's mission. I had no desire to go on a mission at that time. I didn't think that's what I wanted to do. But I noticed how much he affected people, the impact that he had on other people, the joy that he brought into people's lives. And I had something tell me that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to wherever the Lord was going to call me. I wanted to go so that I could affect people in that way, that I could change their lives for the better, that I might bring some joy into their dark world. So that is my answer for number three.
Okay, what is the most spiritual experience you've had? Well, just kind of recently, I performed a Baptist interview with this young woman. She was like more ready than anyone I've ever seen. She bore testimony, started crying. It was pretty spiritual. There's nothing like super significant about it other than it was just you can feel the spirit really strong. And she was super excited to be baptized. Yeah.
My best experience so far, I'm going to set this down, is yesterday. The streets were pretty empty. We were trying to contact people. There's a football game going on, and football is life here in Ohio. And so my best experience so far was yesterday during that empty time. I said a prayer that we could find someone to teach and who would be willing to listen to us. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, we had this random guy literally drive up to us as we were waiting for the bus and started talking to us. Hey, do you want to ride? We're like, no thanks. But we felt that we were a little hesitant, but he was really friendly. He said his dad is a member, and he had missionaries like us over to his house all the time, so that's why he tries to help. Anyway, so we felt like we needed to go with him. We ended up talking a little bit about our church and getting to know him. He's really cool. I don't know if I mentioned his name's Ty. Anyway, but he dropped us off, so hopefully we get to teach him a little more. And it's really cool to see how missionary work affects not only one life, but others as time goes on.
What's the most spiritual experience you have had?
I think just experiences where people follow up on the invitations we leave them, and then we go back and they've had a spiritual experience on their own. I think those are most spiritual for me.
So this is the question, the most spiritual experience I've had. I've had several spiritual experiences. The one that's important to me, at least, that I had recently in the past couple of months. I was just doing a personal study, and I just felt like one day I just felt like I should study the Book of Mormon. So I pulled out my Preach My Gospel and I started reading in chapter 5, which is all about the Book of Mormon. And so I did that, and then I came in here into my room. I just started I read a little bit, and then I pondered what it meant, the steps. And then I prayed and asked God if it were true. And while I was praying, and the moments that it took afterwards, I didn't really feel anything. And I was just sitting there and just waiting pretty much for an answer. And I got one anyways. I just opened my mouth, and this thought came to my head, and as soon as I thought it, I was speaking it. And it was just simple. I just said, I know it's true. And as soon as I said it and thought it, the Holy Ghost came and testified. And then I got the distinct impression that I should open up my Book of Mormon at random, and so I turned to First Nephi, that end of chapter 10 and the beginning part of chapter 11, and I thought I'd read at least a tiny part of what I read. So in part of 17, Nephi's talking about, after hearing about the vision of his father and whatnot, he says, "I, Nephi, was desirous also that I might see and hear and know these things by the power of the Holy Ghost, which is the gift of God unto all those who diligently seek Him." And then the part that I read in chapter 11 was the first verse. "For it came to pass, after I had desired to know the things that my father had seen, and believing that the Lord was able to make them known unto me, as I sat pondering in my heart, I was caught away in the Spirit of the Lord." And it continues on, and we know afterwards that Nephi had this really spiritual experience and was able to see all of those things that he saw. And after just having received that answer and just opening it up and reading that, I just really confirmed to me that it had been an answer that God had sent me. And just personally, it was just a super cool experience for me. It's not something big, but just something small and quiet that happened in my bedroom. And so I would say that's probably one of the most spiritual experiences I've had.
Hey guys, so we just got back from a day of work. I'm just chilling here with my companion.
Hey, what's up, dude?
Elder Chavez. He speaks really good English. Anyway, I think we left off on question number 5 the last time, so in this video I'm gonna answer question number 6. And question number 6 says, "What's the most spiritual experience you've had?" There's a lot. On the mission you have a lot of spiritual experiences, but one that happened the other day, I'm going to tell you a little bit about an investigator that we visited the other day. So we have an investigator named Ricardo, and he went to church for the first time on this last Sunday. And sorry, it's really hot here. I'm always sweating. And he told us about the experience that he had at church, and it was a really good spiritual experience because he was telling us that he'd been praying and asking God to show him a sign that this church was true and that this path that he was taking was the right path. And he said that he went to church and he felt a peace and just a peace and a love that he hadn't really ever felt before. And it was cool because we learned in the Come Follow Me class that day, we learned a little bit about the plan of salvation. And in the week before, we had taught Ricardo about the plan of salvation. We taught Ricardo and his wife about the plan of salvation, and so when they came to church and learned more about the plan of salvation, they were really happy because they kind of knew what was going on, and they got a better understanding of the plan of salvation. And Ricardo told us in that moment when he was telling us about his experience at church, he was like, I know I want to be baptized. He was like, I know that's what I want to do because I want to be clean of my sins. And he just told us his experience that he had at church, and it was really cool. So that was a really spiritual experience that we had the other day.
This family that we're about to marry, they decided to, start accepting the messages. But the thing that was really cool was the mom, she was going to a different church, and she was really looking for an answer to what really was the Church of Jesus Christ. And we always explained authority to her, but she didn't really know what authority was until one night, one of the people of her church tried to kind of, talk bad on our church at the same time we were over there. and my companion started talking to this person, talking to the person of the other church with like authority, authority. You know how missionaries have authority, like we all have authority, with authority and power, and she felt that it was super strong. And so now they've quit drinking coffee, drinking, smoking, and they're getting married at the end of this month. And we've already baptized 3 of their kids. They have 2 more kids, and they're going to get married at the end of this month. They're all going to get baptized together. So honestly, and this family's like super special to me, and